Warning, you will leave this video believing the following. Drum Island had giant trees connected to the Will of D. Emu cut down the trees and froze the island. Cold is the most dangerous force in One Piece, so like, subscribe, and leave a comment to set your log pose in the right direction. Let's get it. So here we see the Rockies of Drum Island. They look like cut down trees. Is there anything about Drum Island that suggests they could be? Well, Kureha lived in a tree, which may even tie into her secret of youth. Dr. Hiraluk also lived in a tree. He even used a tree stump for a bed. He named his apprentice Chopper, which ties into cutting down trees. Additionally, the arc heavily features the Sakura Kingdom. Sakura trees are shown to be important throughout the One Piece story, similar to the Adam, Eve, Ohara, Skypiea, Mangrove, and Undersea trees, just to name a few. Oda actually refers to one of the Rockies as a mountain in quotation marks, as if they're not actually mountains. Furthermore, when you look at the size of the Rockies, it makes way too much sense for these drums to actually have been trees. The drums are stated to be around 15,000 feet, which is exactly half the height needed to reach a sky island, which is usually at 30,000 feet. The Adam tree is thought to touch the sky, which would mean it's a tree that would also be at least 30,000 feet tall. The red line goes about 30,000 feet deep underwater and is high enough to place Marijois in the clouds, which should be around 30,000 feet. This means from top to bottom, the red line could very well be 60,000 feet tall, containing the sunlight tree Eve in its entirety. This suggests the Eve tree is also at least 30,000 foot plus. Additionally, you have the tree in Wano, which may not reach the sky but is still huge, so it's likely there are or were other world trees in the One Piece world. The Rockies being 15,000 foot, exactly half the height of the sky islands, imply these were giant trees that have been cut in half. King Baum having his head cut off may actually have been foreshadowing for this. Something else that adds to this is the height of the Rockies and the Sky Islands are given in both meters and feet at different times, and the conversions are not accurate, meaning Oda is just giving a general outline of the altitudes in the One Piece world, rather than the arbitrary heights of landmarks. Interestingly, it might be revealed that Marijois Palace sits at the same height as the palace on the highest drum of Drum Island, which is exactly between heaven and earth, and would not only be an interesting parallel to Emu, but fitting thematically too. Another similar connection is Emu is believed to have prolonged life, and the Eve tree is below Marijois. Kureha also mentions the secret of youth, and she lives in a tree. This could be Oda suggesting that trees are involved in prolonged life, and might be why so many doctors associated with Drum. Also, Kureha holds a bottle that says Umi, which is Emu backwards, but hold that in your mind for later. Anyway, what's significant about giant trees being on Drum Island? Well, in Skypiea we learn trees inherit souls of the dead. We see something similar on Big Mum's Jolly Roger, with a tree growing out the soul aspect of the image, which you can see at the bottom right. We also recently discovered Vegapunk theorizes the devil fruits come from desires. Fruits grow on trees, and desire is another word for will. So it's possible the giant trees on Drum Island inherited people's desires, which in turn grew into devil fruits on the trees. Inherited will and the concept of the Will of D are both introduced in this arc by Kureha. She also has sakura petals on her shirt, and the sakura tree is another example of a tree that represents inherited will. We even see the drum look like a tree when the sakura blossoms. Hiraluk explains how a country can inherit a will when asked by Dalton in chapter 145 titled Inherited Will, surprisingly enough. This is a nod to the ancient kingdom, which was destroyed by the 20 kingdoms and has since been forgotten by most. However, it has been inherited by information left on the poneglyphs and some other hidden histories, which may lead to its eventual return. People who carry the Will of D die with a smile on their face, which is what we saw with Hiraluk when he died too. Similar to Roger, both came down with incurable diseases, both gave over their lives before their sickness could take it, and they had the same interpretation of what it meant to die. Hiraluk believed that people only died when they are forgotten, and it seems like Goldie Roger believed the same, since he told Rayleigh that he wouldn't die. Dr. Hiraluk tells Chopper about a mountain he climbed where he discovered cherry blossoms, which cured him. This is where Hiraluk discovered how to heal any illness, even for a country. Chapters later, we find out that Roger had a conversation in a mountainous place full of cherry blossoms. These are likely the same locations, so will is definitely significant to Drum Island. This is backed up by the fact the island is frozen, which not only suggests there were trees, but that the trees have will. Why, you ask? Well, you may have seen me discuss how cold affects will in my Blackbeard Hito Hito no Mi video, but if not, here's a brief recap. We've seen multiple examples in the story of cold being used to suppress and preserve the will, while heat encourages and can activate will. We see a large straw hat in Marie-Joie being kept cold artificially, implying Emu is suppressing the will in the straw hat from influencing things around it. For example, a huge ancient mech storming Marie-Joie to retrieve it. Notably, we see a beam of light in the alcove shining down on the straw hat, which could imply the will is still active. Aokiji has an attack called Ice Time Capsule and another called Ice Age. Ohara's will and Soul's will were both preserved when he was frozen by Akaiji's Ice Time Capsule. The chapter in which this is revealed is called In Hopes of Reaching the Future. Enough said, really. Lastly, Impel Down. Level 6 has long been questioned as to what makes the level so bad. Well, level 5 is frozen and called Eternal Hell, so it's likely the wills of those in level 6 are suppressed by the cold, and so cannot be remembered. Going off what we've seen so far, characters are said to live forever only if they're remembered. At least after their death in these other levels, your soul or will return to the cycle, whereas in level 6 you're doomed for eternity, so if there was once trees on Drum Island and somehow someone cut them down, it would make sense the island would be frozen afterwards, in order to suppress the tree's will from essentially regrowing back and creating more devil fruits. These trees would not likely be able to survive in such cold conditions like we see at the moment. But trees don't just need heat, they also need water in order to grow, and fortunately there just so happens to be a river running through Drum Island, meaning given the need, a constant supply of water for giant trees to grow would be fully accessible. But moving on, why do you think these trees would be cut down? Let me know your thoughts in a comment. I think it's possible Drum Island has a connection to the Will of D, and that connection is the reason the trees were cut down and the island was subsequently frozen. Additionally, we see trees seem to have a connection to Joy Boy. We are first introduced to him with a panel of the Sea Forest. We also know Joy Boy is connected to poneglyphs, which are usually found by significant trees as well. Furthermore, the Will of D was introduced on Drum Island and also inherited will, including how it works for a country. We have the palace on Marie-Joie and the palace on the top of Drum Island as eerie parallels, likely being at the same altitude. In Wano, we saw Luffy's heartbeat is tied to Joy Boy, and that his heartbeat mimics the drums of liberation. The island itself could get its name from the drums of liberation. Lastly, the Gomu was revealed to actually be the Hito Nomi model sun god Nika. The fact the name was hidden suggests that Hitos are special in some way. The second most significant Hito in the story so far was found on Drum Island by Chopper. This was one of the few cases we see devil fruits being found in the wild, and I think the reason why no one had found it was because the will of the fruit was suppressed by the cold. So considering all this, it makes sense if Drum Island is revealed to have ties to ancient history. So, if Drum Island had important trees, and trees are connected to Joy Boy, and Joy Boy is connected to the Will of D, and the Will of D was introduced on Drum Island, does this mean Joy Boy and the Will of D are from Drum Island? Well, I believe the trees reached the Sky Islands, connecting the land and the heavens. This could actually have been the location of the ancient kingdom, which after the trees were cut down, may have become dislodged and fallen into the White Sea. We may have seen a part of this when Capone got sucked up. Also, I believe devil fruits once grew on these trees, and perhaps the sun god Nika fruit originated from Drum 2. I believe the world government chopped down the trees to prevent Hito Nomis and potentially other devil fruits from growing, and froze the island in order to prevent the wills of these things returning in some form. Also, I believe cutting these trees down caused the wills or souls to leave, which in turn caused the tree sickness in Skypiea, most likely due to the trauma the souls had suffered when the trees were cut down. Anywho, thanks for watching. We got some big stuff, including the theory about the 4 reincarnated gods of One Piece coming, as well as plenty more. So please drop a like and comment, and don't forget to join the Discord if you want to share your own ideas. Thank you.